TF Tuesday is rated explicit and intended for a mature audience only. Hello and welcome to TF Tuesday, where we discuss the world of transformations, popular culture, and other interesting topics. Here's your host, PW.
Thanks, Ari. Broadcasting from TF Tuesday Studios and from the top of the Big Mini Pause Tower, this is TF Tuesday episode number 1. Welcome, Transformation fans, to TF Tuesday, the best day of the week, and I am beyond elated to have you here in the studio. What is essentially many years of waiting, we are finally launching TF Tuesday, and I am a little nervous but also very happy to finally get it out there. I have been thinking about this project for quite a long time, and I wasn't sure if I was actually ever going to record it, but here we are today. So first, we're going to start off with a little introduction about who I am, what has got me interested in TF, and of course, what this show is about. Then I also want to talk about the 2025 Wolfman, which today just so happens to be the day, this morning actually, that they released the full view of what the Wolfman design is going to be. And I have a lot to say about it, so I figured today was the best day to just go ahead and get started on episode 1, as of course I have a lot to say about TF and TF accessories. So my name is Planet Grey Wolf, but you can call me PW for short. I have always been interested in werewolves since as far back as I can remember. I have been around the fandom since 2013 and streaming on twitch.tv/PlanetGreyWolf since 2019. I'm not quite sure what my precipice of being into transformation first really got started. I'm pretty sure I was born with it somehow, but transformation has always been a big part of my life. When I was younger, I had an assignment for school that was basically do a report on anything that you like. And I believe if we had to really narrow it down to a particular time that I really started looking into transformation was during this assignment. I looked around on, of course, your regular search engines, and one thing led to another that led to another. And I believe my very first one, website that I landed on was Where Cats Where Creatures. And it just kind of exploded from there. It just opened my eyes. The content that I found on Werecat's site really started to cement like, wow, I, for some reason, really enjoy seeing people turn into different things. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Of course, I found Doc's Lab, Transfer, but the main site that besides Werecats, the main site that I really came back to all the time was Fox's transformation art. Now, there is a funny story that I've told to a couple of peeps here and there about my experience with the Fox's transformation art. So at the time when I first discovered it, I was, of course, enamored with everything that I saw. Every type of creature that you could think of was represented in Fox's art, and at the time I did not have a computer of my own, so the computer that was available to me was one of my parents' work laptop. And now remember, this is not the time where you could have USBs that have 500 gigabytes worth of storage space. This was the time where this particular laptop and technology at the time, you had to insert what looks like a really long disc, but instead of being round, it's more rectangular. And you would stick it into the side of the laptop, and at the other end, it had an antenna. And the antenna would allow you to connect to the Wi-Fi that you had available in your location. And so I didn't really think about what my storage solution was going to be when I wanted to save these pictures for, later viewing. And so what I thought was going to be a genius idea was, well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and print these photos. And after a while, my collection of printed photos grew rather large, and I just didn't really want to have a whole stack of transformation art just sitting in my room or somewhere where somebody could just kind of stumble upon it. So I decided one time to go to my local store and get a accordion folder. And so what I did was I got the accordion folder, and then I took the stack of printed Fox's art, and I started to catalog it into the accordion folder. And I had it, of course, that at the very front were my very favorite ones. And after that, I had it cataloged by basically general species, wolf, tiger. I believe there was one I specifically remember. It was like a mid TF turtle one. So throughout the course of my printing Fox's art into viewable images for later, one time I had just finished printing, I believe it was that very turtle image, and I was bringing it up the stairs because the computer was downstairs, and I was bringing it up the stairs, and one of my parents stopped me in the hallway, and they was like, "Oh, what's that? What do you have there?" And my heart absolutely sank, because I knew that if I showed this to basically anyone, they would be like, "What the heck is this?" But I really didn't have an opportunity to not show it to the person asking. So I handed over the picture, and they looked at the picture, and they kind of gave a weird look to it, but they didn't really think anything of it. And they were like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just a picture that I found online, and I thought it was cool, so I printed it out." Of course, they didn't know that I basically had what essentially was a ream of paper that was just filled with Fox's transformation art on there. So they just kind of let it go. After that, I really should have known to find a better way to save the art that I wanted to see later in another format that was more inconspicuous. But of course, being a kid, I didn't. So one day I had this brilliant idea to basically take my accordion folder filled with TF art. Well, by this point, it had amassed quite a collection. I decided to take this accordion folder with me on a family vacation. As you might have guessed, that ended up being an extremely bad idea, as the stash was actually discovered as I was taking my clothes out of the luggage. And to make a very long story short, my beloved stash was thrown into a hotel trash can and burned in a fire. So yeah, my initial way of saving my TF images was not a good one, to say the least. It was actually quite some time after that I actually acquired my own computer, and I have been collecting TF art ever since then. As of today, I believe that's like around 124 gigabytes of it, so it's definitely grown in size. Other influential things, of course, have been things like American Werewolf in London and that masterpiece of a transformation scene that is. We will actually discuss that in a much later episode. We'll go into detail about it and really talk about the nitty gritty of it. But things like that really, truly cemented in my mind and really reinforce what I, again, believe I was probably born with, being that TF is just more than a hobby. It's more than just something that interests me. I really believe that it's just a part of who I am as a person. For example, there is a show called Street Sharks, a little bit of an older show, but in the very first episode, there is a multiple person transformation scene where they turn into street sharks. And not only that, but the trigger is not an immediate trigger. It happens later on in the episode, but the trigger is basically an injection that they receive because they got experimented on. But every time I would see that the show was on the schedule, I would hope that it was the pilot episode that had the transformation scene in it. And I remember being so excited when it did happen, because it didn't happen often as it was the pilot, but when it did happen, it was a very good day indeed. And I honestly wish that I had a way back then to record it so I could actually see it over and over, because I probably would have. Things like that basically are the reason why I am who I am today, and I truly truly am very grateful that I was able to experience those old school TFs back when I actually did get to see them. I do want to give a special shout out to Fox's transformation art, who I believe goes by Foxy-TF now over on FA. I'll put a link in the show notes over at TFTuesday.com. Now, if the website isn't fully finished by the time you're actually listening to this, I do apologize, as that is a little bit more time consuming than we're sitting here and recording these stories of TF mischief. But please definitely check out Foxy, FOXXY-TF over on FA. Wonderful being who definitely influenced my early childhood. So moving on to our next topic, why does this show exist? Basically, I love talking transformation. If you have talked to me ever, either at a con or you've been to one of my Twitch streams, twitch.tv/PlanetGreyWolf, you will know that I will bring up either the big mini pause or transformation in general as much as I possibly can. As you have been listening, you know, it's just a big part of who I am. So many years ago, basically around 2019, which seems like a lifetime ago in the year 2025, I early on decided, after I started streaming, that I kind of wanted to delve into maybe specific TF triggers, or basically talk about TF more often than what is really truly appropriate over on Twitch. And so I created these accounts that you will see our episodes going forward back then. And honestly, truly, what really kept me from starting back then was basically anxiety of not being able to come up with content or even talk about things that people would like to listen to. And for basically all of this time until today, it's basically just stayed that way. But I have decided that 2025 was going to be the end of that, and I was just going to throw my hat in the ring and see if maybe anybody else would be interested in hearing me talk about random TF things, or my thoughts on movies, or my thoughts on specific scenes and things of that nature. So instead of recording TF Tuesday all those years ago, I actually started making TF GIFs over on Twitter. And it just became one of those passion projects that it's just enjoy doing. And the GIFs actually ended up becoming videos, and then videos with sound. And now I've been doing transformation scenes since about 2020, I believe I started. And like I said, they started as GIFs, and then I decided that a GIF doesn't really truly get the whole mood and the atmosphere across. So then I started making those the videos, and so I've been doing that for quite some time now, and that ties into what I kind of wanted to do with one of the segments of TF Tuesday. It's just kind of talked about the specific scene a little bit more in detail, what I like, what I don't like, what I feel like could be improved, and of course give it a rating in more context. Now, I do give ratings to the specific scenes in the physical Twitter post, but I'm limited into, I believe, like 160 characters or so. So sometimes I definitely have way more to say about it than what I'm allowed to post on there. So I feel like that would be a really good segment for the show going forward. It's basically going back to the videos and transformation scenes that I posted over the years on Twitter, and kind of talking about it more in detail, and basically just talk more about the pause and things that I feel like we need to talk more about. Somebody actually commented on one of the posts saying that, oh my gosh, you always say that there is no shoe burst in these scenes, and really truly there is an overabundance of transformation scenes and things that like involve transformation that just either don't show the feet at all, or don't show the shoes bursting or flip-flops bursting, whatever, feet growing, things of that nature. And I feel like every time I put no shoe bursts, it just makes it to where I get a little bit sadder on the inside every time. But a good outlet, I feel like, would be the segment in the TF Tuesday where we can talk about how the scene can be improved, and how we can 100% include some paw action in there. So I feel like that would be really great to experience with everyone here together on the show. My plan is that each episode of TFTuesday is going to have 3 topics. One of them 100% is going to be the video that we're going to be talking about for that episode. And now I'm not 100% sure what the schedule of the show is going to be going forward, as I don't want it to become something where I am, for the lack of a better word, forced to do. I wanted to stay relaxed. I wanted to stay chill. I wanted to stay easy listening. And I will, of course, continue to make the TF Tuesday video. So I am just not certain how that's going to mesh in with making another episode. Now, my goal would be to do at least 1 episode every other week. So basically 2 a month. That would be my goal of aka a schedule for the show. So if that doesn't come to pass immediately, as I'm just trying to figure out how it's going to go going forward, that is the goal eventually. So I hope you will join us for those episodes going forward. And as always, you can see the show notes and anything that I talk about that will include a link or anything like that will be available on the website TFTuesday.com. And if you ever need to comment or anything like that, there will be a form for that as well. In fact, I already have that up on a separate page, but the main page isn't done. That'll have the episode notes and the episode links just yet. So if you're listening to this and you go to tftuesday.com and it tells you there's nothing there, don't worry, there will be something there soon, probably this week. I will make it a priority. So definitely check that out when it is up and running. Moving on to our third topic, like I said at the beginning of the episode, the Wolfman 2025 transformation video of what supposedly is the full scene. Obviously, we don't know since the movie technically isn't out yet. I think you can see previews of it early if you're like in California somewhere or something like that. But that was released earlier this morning, and that really was the tipping point of me saying, you know what, I'm going to put my paw down and I'm going to make the episode today because I need to talk about it. So again, the trailer is going to be linked over at tftuesday.com. So you can see it for yourself. The movie is actually directed by Lee Whannell. I believe I'm saying that right. And they wanted to have a new take onto what the Wolfman looked like. So, of course, we all know peak werewolf design is, of course, the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman. That is, I believe, probably the best werewolf interpretation that we have gotten in Hollywood ever. Of course, the critique, and again, we will definitely talk about that transformation scene as it comes up in the queue. But the only thing missing in that scene is, for whatever reason, we don't get a werewolf with a tail. And although some might say that that's not super important, the overall design is the most important thing. I feel like it doesn't really encompass what a werewolf truly should look like, in my opinion, unless they have a tail. And I will wholeheartedly stand by that. Why? I mean, I'm not a somebody that does VFX or a prop master or anything like that, but I am not really certain why VFX houses and directors and movie studios don't really put tails on werewolves. I don't know, but I really wish they would. And if they would, I really wish that there was at the very least a glimpse of the tail growing in the transformation scene. I feel like that's just, besides, of course, a good shoe burst, I feel like that's just one of the quintessential and really important parts of a transformation, is showing the tail coming out, or at the absolutely very least showing the vertebrae basically extending on their back. Now there are many transformations that do show that, but they show it kind of like in passing, where it really should be not the star of the show. Of course, that's the shoe burst, but a prominent feature that it really should be. But it going back to the Werewolf of Wolfman from 2025, I'm not really sure what to say, because again, in order to really appreciate what I'm trying to say is looking at the video for yourself. But in all honesty, again, I haven't seen the movie, but it just kind of looks like a hairy gentleman that kind of has wolf-like features. Now, I will 100% give them props, and they definitely do deep props with this, is that when you are seeing the claws come in, they come in from underneath the nail like they should, and they just kind of like they push the original human nail out, and you see in the trailer, you actually see it. You see the claw push out, and I 100% give them props for that, and I hope that they actually show more of that. The only other place they would have claws is, of course, their feet. So if you know me at all, you would know that I'm definitely rooting for that. But if we don't see that, then at the very least, they showed the I believe proper way of showing the claws coming in. The director mentioned something in another behind the scenes that they kind of wanted to take in a different stance, a reimagining of what the Wolfman should look like. But again, without seeing the movie, it currently right now it sits at a very, very lukewarm, like 5 in the out of 10 pause rating. To me, it just doesn't look like it's going to be like a proper werewolf. There's kind of been this theme in the werewolf movies recently. Now, Werewolves 2024 definitely broke the mold there, but there has been this theme where they make the werewolf not necessarily a werewolf physically. Say for the movie, what is the name of that movie? The Beast Within. Now, spoilers for The Beast Within. If you haven't seen The Beast Within, put your earmuffs on for like the next 30 seconds, as this is a major spoiler for the movie The Beast Within. So truly, I mean, not to, poo-poo on other people's work, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just critiquing. If you're interested in seeing The Beast Within, earmuffs for the next 30 seconds. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. So the werewolf, aka werewolf, isn't really, they're not really truly a werewolf. They are a beast within, because they were actually doing like bad things to their family. So to the viewing audience, there is a transformation scene of them becoming, aka the beast, the werewolf, but in reality they weren't truly a werewolf that was transforming in the full moon and becoming a beast and becoming a predator. They were really just a bad person that would kind of get locked up because they were doing bad things to their family. So there has been this trend where the werewolf isn't really a werewolf. They're more of a metaphor for something else. And as somebody, of course, who is is into transformation, likes transformation stuff, it doesn't really give us the type of media that we want. So Wolfman 2025 is not taking that approach. I don't believe, again, I haven't seen the movie. I know I've said that several times, but I just want to make sure that I put out there that I have not seen the movie. So this is before seeing the movie. I don't believe that they're being a metaphor for being aka beast. I believe they really are some sort of version of a werewolf. But from what we've seen so far, it is not looking good as far as the werewolf design. Last year, there was like a Halloween party or some sort of movie event where they showed Blumhouse, the producer of the movie, they showed a preview of what we thought was probably not what the werewolf, at least we hoped, was not what the werewolf was going to look like. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes on over on the website so you can see what I'm talking about. They showed basically like a hairy man with long white hair and claws. That's basically what they were trying to showcase, and it didn't really land that well with people that were interested in seeing the werewolf. And we all kind of thought that was just maybe like a promotional thing. That's not going to be what it really looks like. But unfortunately, I believe it was not a end representation of what the werewolf looks like, but it was kind of pretty close. So I am really hoping that the movie is going to be a la maybe like Ginger Snaps, that there is a long, slow burn TF, and they don't necessarily become the beast right away or the werewolf right away. It's a very slow burn thing that eventually culminates into like maybe a big bad wolf. That's hopeful thinking. I really hope that's the case, but we will have to see. And of course, we will definitely talk about the transformation and things of that nature here on a later episode. I believe it is still customary to be 30 days after release. So of course, I will give a warning, just like I did for The Beast Within. If you are not interested in hearing spoilers, I'll definitely give a warning before we start talking about that. But I feel like it's one of the things that I'm going to want to talk about ahead of the basically 3 years worth of transformation videos that I have over on Twitter, twitter.com/FindAGreatWolf. So I hope to see you there when we're talking about that. And with that, I believe that is it for this episode of TF Tuesday. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so very much for hanging out with us on our inaugural episode. Like I said, I will definitely try to make this at least once a month at the minimum, but twice a month will really be the goal. Thank you so very much for listening and spending your time here with me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time right here on TF Tuesday.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of TF Tuesday. This show reflects the opinions of only the hosts, who are associated persons of TFTuesday.com, and do not reflect the views of any of its subsidiaries or affiliates. Any third-party information provided therein is for informational purposes only. Voiceover work is provided by
Join the hunt.
Check them out on jpast.card.co.